about the world of disc golf, within the last week, we have seen another announcement coming from Paul McBeth, being that he has officially launched the Paul McBeth Foundation. Now, we knew this was coming. We're the ones fulfilling his merch. I think some people might get confused by that. We're trying to make it as clear as we can on the language on the site. But basically, if you go through the Paul McBeth Foundation's website, hit shop, it takes you to our website. We're doing nothing but fulfilling it. No money from that is going straight to us. When you buy it, all of the money is going to the Paul McBeth Foundation. We're just filling the orders. But if you're wondering what the Paul McBeth Foundation is, it was basically a dream of his since like 2013. He said he found it in a notebook that it dates that far back. But it's basically they're trying to create courses and bring disc golf to areas that don't currently have access to that, whether that's in the U.S., outside of the U.S. That is like the main goal, because Paul knows what the game did for him, and being an individual game that's kind of cheap to play, he knows what it can do for other people and other kids growing up, and even other communities. So designing, developing, and putting in courses pretty much in places that don't currently have access to disc golf. I think this is another pretty big move for the sport, and the fact that there's several like foundations and charities out there. The first one that came to mind is Edge, the educational disc golf experience, right? Yeah. And I think even there's one like Uplay. There's been several ones, but this is the first one that's been like heavily backed by a star player, if that makes sense. And I can't even say this is backed. This is the player's idea, right?
Right.
To where this is something that I think could be very big for the growth of the sport, and even just the development of the sport, and expanding it into other countries and other areas, because it allows players and manufacturers and everyone to team up quite a bit under a very marketable name,
right? Paul
McBeth. What were your thoughts on this when it first got announced, and what are you excited to kind of see from it?
Yeah, I think obviously it's great to see. We want to see our players getting involved in this a lot more, and I'm very curious to see, like, disc golf. One of the things we have as a sport is our accessibility and how inexpensive it is to get into the sport. I mean, literally. Heck, I was at Falling Creek Park yesterday, and some guy is in the parking lot with discs, like a whole truck full of discs that he fished out of like ponds all across different states, and he's selling them for like $5. So like that just shows you how cheap it can be to get into our sport. The only hard part about getting into disc golf is your accessibility to a course. Not even cost wise, just literally just location, because they're almost always free. So this could be an area of growth in our sport that's currently very untapped. I mean, there's a lot of sports, the perfect example of a sport that, like soccer is considered like a worldwide sport. Well, one of the big reasons for that is because you can play with a ball. That's all you really need. That's why it has boomed everywhere in the entire world, no matter where it is. Third world country, doesn't matter. Disc golf, as much as it may not seem that way, it's a simple game and can be played with one little disc. So,
or even like a paint can lid.
Right. Like, so I'm just curious to see, like, if with this initiative, like, I think this is really an untapped area of growth in our sport, is getting courses to areas who can't afford to put them in. It's such a simple, like, great pastime, and like, it's so addictive. I've already noticed, just over the past year, I mean, when I go out to a course, just last night, like when I was playing at a course, like the demographic is shifting. Like there's so many like college aged kids and high school aged kids at courses, like that you just didn't see that when I first got into disc golf. It was mostly older guys. And like, it's becoming more popular at that age group. Like disc golf's kind of like, I feel like disc golf's becoming cool, like it's kind of getting to that point. Like it's true though. Like, it's starting to, like, disc golf, like, was kind of just like a weird, like, hobby, to a lot of people, like even to, obviously to us, it wasn't, but like now it's kind of becoming more mainstream. And I think, initiatives like this, just getting as many courses out there as we can to so that everybody has one near them. It could be what really explodes the sport, because like you're gonna have kids who, like, maybe their parents can't afford to get them started in other sports, but they can say, hey, we can go to the park and I can just give you this inexpensive disc and you can get into disc golf. Like, I think it could be huge. I'm very excited to see like where they go with it and what they end up doing and how many courses they can get out there. I would love to see, more companies focus on course installation, getting as many courses out there as it can, because there are very few parks out there that will turn it down, and they're not that expensive. It's 18 baskets, some tee pads and some tee signs and a little bit of work, but it's so easy, especially when you compare to even just putting in, obviously a ball golf course, like that's a whole nother thing, but even just putting in like, a soccer field or other things that even like disc golf course barely have to be maintenance. You just, if you're already keeping, care of the park, it's already done. So, I think you just got to get the courses out there. So I love seeing that there's, finally some kind of organization with that kind of as their mission statement. I'd like to see more of it.
Yeah. And I think if you want to learn a lot more about this foundation, you can actually check out the Nick and Matt show over on our YouTube channel, or if you're an audio listener, they should be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. They did an interview with Paul right as he kind of launched this, and they go a lot more in depth into where his ideas came from for this foundation, who he's partnering with and stuff like that. And you can also check them out on Instagram, the Paul McBeth Foundation. They have a video that also goes a little bit more in depth. But one thing that I thought was interesting too is when we're talking like communities in the US, right? If you're looking, because one thing they're talking about is putting it into like more urban areas. One thing that isn't down that like in downtown or urban areas, or even in like bigger cities like New York, Chicago, is land to put in a disc golf course, right? And so another thing that the foundation has made a part of their mission is to provide portable baskets to community centers. I know growing up, I used to volunteer at a community center downtown. It's called the Jubilee Center. And, there's just tons of kids there, and they'd go to the gym and just play basketball, play soccer, whatever they had. It would have been amazing. I didn't know about disc golf at the time, but looking back on it, to have a portable basket in there, it's just another fun outlet that can lead to, kids spending more time outside and just having something else to do and be competitive with. That's an individual sport. I think that's the biggest thing, and one thing that Paul has always talked about is it's something that you can just go do on your own. Right. You don't need to go find 10 people to play 5-on-5 basketball or whatever.
There's so many people that want that too. Like they want to just be able to be on their own.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Growing up, like I would go shoot basketball, and that's fun, but you're not being competitive with it. You can just go compete against yourself and compete against the course. And that's what's beautiful about the game of golf. But golf obviously is not accessible. I mean, the cheapest course around us is like $30 for 9 holes.
Right.
Versus disc golf, you can go play, 9 courses within a 15-minute drive for free. So I think this is a great thing. I'm excited to see kind of what comes from it. I know in the video they showed Doug Bierkes, I believe that's who it was, who's on the board of the Paul McBeth Foundation, and he's also heavily involved with dynamics. That kind of shows you that this isn't going to be a disc golf foundation, if that makes sense. Like there's going to be a lot of other companies supporting this and backing it, because I think that this is something that's one of the first ones that'll be really big in the public eye as far as disc golf goes, and I think that's going to prove to be very beneficial to them.